Hey, come on, Jake. We're gonna geek those wieners and get back in time before the soy calf gets cold. Man, Cyberpunk makes me say weird things. Like, hey, I'm a 7-foot tall troll karate punching Halloween themed gangers in the throat. Sure was a crazy year of the awakening, that 2012. Greetings, everyone. This is the Snek. Welcome to the 2050s. No, you heard me right. The 2050s in the futuristic world of Shadowrun. Alright, Shadowrun is almost as old as I am, and has been a wildly popular rival to Cyberpunk 2077's franchise since they were both new, so this isn't exactly obscure per se. But seriously, when it comes to cover-based shooter SRPGs, is Shadowrun Returns the first game that pops into your head? Well, it should be, because this game is awesome, and I'm here to tell you why, chummers. Taking a step back for the newcomers, what is Shadowrun? Shadowrun started its existence as a series of tabletop games and novels, starting its life in 1989, published by the FASA Corporation. The thrust of it was that in the far-off, futuristic year of, 2012, the world changed forever. Suddenly, elves and dwarves right out of fantasy novels appeared right in the middle of the human population. Then, magic, trolls, dragons, and other fantasies became realities. Several precarious political hostilities came to a head, breaking once massive nations like China and the USA into several smaller countries. And then, more than anything, it also gave rise to a massive surge in technological innovation. And more than that, the birth of the megacorp, the largest among these being given extraterritoriality, which is too complicated to explain in just a review, but it's a big deal. The long and short of it is, it's a wonderful hybrid of high fantasy and cyberpunk. You have your artificial limbs, cyber enhancements, and guns, and more guns. As a runner, the ones who put the run in Shadowrun is a deniable asset, working as a mercenary at the behest of the Johnson, the anonymous buyer of the services. Runners can come from any walk of life and can have any number of skill sets. And this is where the magic really happens in the video game adaptations from 2013, Shadowrun Returns. And for the sake of this review, I'm only going to be talking about the game's main campaign mode, Dead Man's Switch. This is one of those games that has tons of fan-made content and additional campaigns you can download from the user network on Steam. But I'm going to narrow the focus just to keep things succinct for now. Technically speaking, this game is a sort of convergent sequel to the SNES and Genesis video games, both of which are named Shadowrun. And those games are both entirely too early 90s adventure title for this Snek. Shadowrun Returns picks up in the year 2054, with a close friend and fellow runner, Sam Watts, contacting our now down-on-their-luck protagonist. More on them in a sec. Sam then lets us know that, if we're hearing that message, it's because he's presently at room temperature now, and that it probably was anything but natural causes that caused it. And with the promise of 100,000 nuyen, the currency in Shadowrun, yeah, that's just kind of a thing in cyberpunk. Japan always has to rule the world, or some close approximation, just roll with it. 100,000 nuyen for bringing the killer in, our hero returns to Seattle, Washington, whereupon they begin the investigation in earnest. So let's talk about the protagonist, since you get to make them from the ground up. Like a simplified version of character creation of the tabletop game, but it's actually an ideal in for people just like me who hadn't played Shadowrun's tabletop incarnation up to that point. You pick male or female, your metatype, human, dwarf, orc, troll, or dandelion eater, your class. Oh yeah, that's a thing I should mention. By design, Shadowrun is technically classless, and there's nothing stopping any player from spending their hard-earned karma, this game's word for experience points basically, and nuyen on whatever they please. So saying this game has classes in the technical sense is untrue. However, the basic recurring archetypes like Street Samurai, the tank/physical DPS role, mage, hacker, and, well, no, not infiltrator, the game's not really designed for that, but you do get generous options for tank, mage, and hacker. Then you get to pick a portrait, your hairstyle and color, and spend some karma on stats and skills, and you're on your way. And this is something I have to gush about because, remember, I went into this knowing little more than secondhand stories of other people's campaigns. The game can be beaten by any configuration you make, so long as you put some level of planning into it. If you're a specialist who knows how to get by with some kind of weapon, you're probably going to be fine. Social builds can be strong, hackers can be strong, buff tank rolls can be strong. The game will not force your hand into any particular build. And if you feel it does, well, there's a developer console and you can cheat. So there's that, I guess. Even though there is a hard limit to how much karma can be earned throughout the campaign, I've found that it's more than enough for my decker to be well-rounded and able to both talk and shoot her way through. If you're curious, it was a female human decker named Delta V, who had strong understanding of security lingo and preferred pistols as her weapon of choice. And yeah, I had a ton of fun playing as her. And now that we have the character made, this time I'm going to make a troll adept just for funsies, and because I haven't yet, let's talk about the graphics. The game has a distinct and stark style, with the gloomy shadows surrounding neon-style commonplace in cyberpunk settings. I think it works here because not only are the game's devs stationed in the city they're attempting to recreate, they're clearly fans of the genre and it makes everything look great. We view the game in an isometric view, able to see as much as we zoom out to see at once. The game still looks sharp even when zoomed in, and you'll notice a lot of detail in the backgrounds and the world around you. The game is stylistic and smooth, everything you'd want a game like this to be. In terms of the music, the soundtrack's a lot of fun. It has this constant undercurrent with a strong techno-rock emphasis that I lack the words to adequately describe. Point is, the soundtrack is awesome, and even has a couple of remix tracks from the Super Nintendo Shadowrun game as well, which is a nice nod to continuity despite them being 20 years apart. The sound effects are what you'd expect. Guns sound like guns, and guys dying sounds like, mostly the same one or two grunts, but it does get the job done. I'm rarely focused on them though, to be fair, since I'm mostly considering means by which to not end up looking like a slice of Swiss cheese after the shootout. And since I've already started talking about it anyway, let's hit the gameplay next. When you're not in combat, the game handles like a mouse-based RPG. You can walk around, investigate things, and talk to NPCs. Dialogue's handled in standard tree format, allowing you to interrogate anyone to your heart's content. And the game will often reward karma for exploring all of your options. You're pretty much free to walk around and explore to your heart's content, and you should. When you have karma on hand, you can power up your stats and skills anytime you're not in the middle of combat, and you can use your new yin for weapons, armor, cybernetic implants, upgrades, and magical accompaniment. Then, when you accept the job, you enter into the action field where the run actually takes place. The coolest thing about the runs themselves is that, while they're all very combat-heavy, your specialties can change how you approach each of them. Doubly so as, in this game in particular, you're rarely given free help. A lot of missions you'll find yourself running solo. Some situations can be diffused by a skilled hacker, others you'll be able to talk your way out of the fight, or into it if that's the plan. And sometimes being able to use magic can change how the events unfold too. That's the beauty of the game's open level designs. And when combat does happen, and it will, trust me, you'll be set into turn-based combat. Combat hinges on action points, or AP, and most of the time you'll have 2 AP per character per turn. An AP is spent for moving a certain distance or reloading a weapon, attacking an enemy, or using an item. Most things that a tabletop setting would define as a simple action, though some exceptions do exist. For example, some complicated guns may require 2 AP to reload, and some late-game skills can also mitigate AP usage, like one that allows you to reload pistols as a free action, requiring no AP expenditure at all. So to maximize action economy, you'll want to mind positioning. Remember, any cover at all, even cover that shouldn't logically cover you in any way, is better than no cover at all. So finding the best location in order not to get perforated, and then in turn perforating your enemies, is the order of the day in most combat situations. And the best thing is, just like the tabletop game, Returns blends these investigative segments and the combat segments rather elegantly, and the enemy AI is fairly competent, meaning even on lower difficulties, the game will likely remain somewhat challenging. While a lot of jobs you'll take on are just business, such as the life of a runner after all, mostly you'll be advancing your homicide investigation, using every available resource to crack the case and get to the bottom of Sam Watt's death. Now, are there things Returns could have done better? Oh, for sure. For instance, you almost never get free help. You'll pay for runners to assist you, even if you paid for them to assist you before. This can come off as frustrating, especially when you need to save up for better weapons and armor, but the want for help becomes a drain on funds. Next, Returns is exclusively linear, with only 1 or 2 instances of picking the order you want missions done in. Being a runner is supposed to be about personal freedom, so being put on rails is a little bit of a downer, even when every mission is fun. And lastly, a rather minor gripe, there's no weapon suited for very long ranges. Even the assault rifle, considered the long-range option among guns, tapers off accuracy after only a few paces away. Luckily, the two sequel titles, Dragonfall and Hong Kong, which I'll review at some point in the future, address these issues and more. Should you get Shadowrun Returns? If anything I've said sounds even remotely cool to you, be it the character customization, the fantasy cyberpunk hybrid, the strategy, the stat building, the detective angle, any of it at all, yes, emphatically yes. Shadowrun is amazing, and it deserves ever so richly to be better known. Best yet, if you like the video games, you'll love the tabletop, which just came out with its newest edition, late 2019. Try Shadowrun Returns out for yourself, and you might just be impressed by how much the games really have to offer you. This has been the Runner Snek. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, please click that like button. If you want more just like this, you can find more content every week right here by clicking those subscribe and bell icons so you'll never miss a thing. You can keep tabs on what I'm up to over at Twitter, or if you really want to fund my Shadowrunning, you can become a patron on my Subscribestar page. All links available in the description. And lastly, feel free to drop a comment down below telling me what your favorite role in a runner team is. Join me here every week as we uncover more obscure games and indie excellence, and I'll see you there.